Okay, so here's the third word problem with ratios, and in this case you're given two numbers that actually are both ratios, and you're not using one to solve for the other, but you're given two ratios and you're asked to compare them. There are some that are like this that aren't even presented as a word problem. They just give you a whole bunch of numbers and ask which is the highest or which is the lowest, but some of them are given as decimals, some are fractions, and some are percent. And you can use the same approach with those as what I'm doing here. So you're supposed to find just which one is more, Sally or John, who ate more. And you're given 3/5 and you're given 75%. Okay, so it's hard to directly compare those. You could turn 3/5 into a percent. You could turn a percent into a fraction, but then you'd have to find common denominators. And so the easiest thing to do when given any kind of mix of decimals, percents, and fractions is to turn everything into a decimal, and then you can just compare them directly. So a fraction is a ratio because 3/5 means 3 out of 5. And then we just need to solve that and compare it to 75%, which is also a ratio because a percent is a ratio. It's 75 out of 100. So we can solve these both, and you would just do that with your handheld calculator or your on-screen calculator, whatever you're using. So 3 divided by 5 is how you would solve that, 3/5, and make it into a decimal. And I got 0.6, and then 75 out of 100, and I get 0.75. So then the other part of this, when you've got two decimals, is when you're comparing them, you're not comparing 75 to 6. You need to make sure you go out to the same number of decimal places in all your answers to be able to directly compare them. So since 75, just pick the one that goes out to the most decimal places and make everything that you're comparing it to go out to the same number of decimal places. So here 75 goes out to 2, 0.6 only goes out to 1, so we're just going to stick a 0 at the end of that. That does not change the value of that number, it just makes it easier to compare. And now we can say, oh, 75 is more than 60, so 75% is more. John ate 75%, so the answer is John. If you were given 4 of these, like sometimes is done not in the terms of word problems, but in just comparing numbers, you'd turn everything into a decimal. You'd bring everything, add zeros to the end of any number so that everything goes out to the same number of decimal places, and compare them all to get either the highest or the lowest, whatever it's asking for.